hello, and welcome to a new episode of Ramblings from Two Meddling Kids. I'm Edward Hunt, joined by my fellow kaiju,
Mike Cunningham.
and we are the Meddling Kids. And today we'll be reviewing Godzilla Minus One. For those of you joining us for the first time, hey, we like to review movies. Good to have you here. For those of you who come back, great to see you again. We'll never spoil anything in the first, let's call it 10, 15 minutes of the movie. We'll give a spoiler-free review, 0 to 5, on what we thought of the movie. From there, we'll give you some background, and then we'll get into some spoilers as we give you a play-by-play, things we liked throughout the movie, things we might not have liked, maybe crack a joke along the way, but really we learn more about ourselves as people, and that's what matters. So, Mike, you ready to get started? 0 to 5 review. Let's hear it.
I give this movie a 5 out of 5.
5? Hell yeah. Okay.
It's my favorite movie of the year. Like,
Wow.
I had no intention of giving it that until I saw it.
Okay.
But I had literally no gripes. I have one gripe, but it's more of a nitpick because I like talking shit. But other than that, I love the storytelling. I love the character development. I'm constantly talking shit about these kaiju movies where it's just like there's too much human involvement. But I think this one did it very well.
Oh, yeah.
Like you truly cared about these characters. They weren't dumb
Nope.
when it came to actually addressing the monster. What I really loved is it did something that I haven't seen since the Meg 2.
Okay.
When it puts you in the trench and like you truly felt.
Okay, for a second.
Shut up.
Like the Meg 2 is a bad movie.
Let me finish.
Okay, I'm like, sir.
Hold. But when the best part of the Meg 2 is when it put you in that trench.
Yeah.
And it was just like you felt
Mm-hmm.
that like the same fear that those characters felt, you felt. So I think this movie did it very well where it was just like when Godzilla attacked, I truly feared for those individuals.
For sure. Yeah.
Right. And I think it's because a lot of American films, like a lot of characters just have plot armor. So it's like there's no stakes here.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's going to actually happen to these characters. You know that. We're 30 minutes in type of thing. But I think this one did it was like I was truly terrified. Now I don't know, maybe it's the time. So I know these people lack provisions and technology and things like that to like truly put up an actual fight against this monster. So like maybe that's what helped to put me into that mindset. But it was just like, I loved all of the characters. I loved the design of this Godzilla.
Yeah.
I loved everything about this movie. Like the cinematography was great, the action was great. Like this started out action packed.
Yeah, for sure.
With that first introduction to the monster, and it just kept going. Yeah. It's my favorite movie of the year. Like cool. I have no issues with this film. So 5 out of 5 for me.
That's awesome. Woo! High praise from Mike Cunningham. Okay. I'm going to start with a 4. I'm going to start with a 4 and say it can go up as we talk about the movie and everything. Though it's funny that I'm saying this, I don't really have any gripes about it either, but I'm sticking with the 4.
Just being...
Yeah. So, very solid movie. Very great, especially as monster movies go. And just to watch the parallels and ways that you see a post-war Japan. And granted, I'm not an expert on the subject by any means, but to see a post-war Japan, you're recovering from World War II, you're recovering from all of this. And like, I think a great thing that this movie does, at least that I felt, was rather than recovering from the nuclear bomb, rather than recovering from like a war that happened, we're also recovering from a kaiju. And you could put a lot of stuff going on in the kaiju. And you see the main character, he was a soldier, so small spoiler there, but he was a soldier. But then his PTSD came from Godzilla and like all the horror.
As well as it's a mix.
A mix of things. But like I saw so much of that as just a way of like externalizing what happens when a soldier returns from war. Because like in a not fictional universe, a man will have night terrors or a woman will have night terrors from returning from war because of like the atrocities of war and everything there. So this just kind of Godzilla just gave it a like external thing, being like it's a kaiju monster instead.
Interesting when I was looking at trivia, like Godzilla originally was an allegory for the atomic bomb.
That makes sense.
The hydrogen bomb, sorry.
Yeah.
And the consequences
of
that.
Makes sense because it's very much radiation.
Yeah, like you said, very much a physical, a tangible representation of the effects of war.
For sure. And the atomic, that makes so much sense because Godzilla's radioactive, he destroys cities like that. Yeah, definitely. So cool. All right. Go me. So very solid movie, all in all. maybe a little predictable at times with kind of what was going on. But as like monster movies go, this was a really solid movie that I did enjoy immensely the entire time I watched it. So I'm going to give it a 4 for right now. Mike's giving it a 5. See this movie. It's totally worth seeing. Yes, it's in subtitles. That was one thing. I didn't realize it was subtitles going into it because I had no idea. So I usually sit in row C for movies because I like, being kind of up close. But it was too hard to read the subtitles and look up at the same time. So I moved myself back one row and it was perfect. So, but definitely it's worth seeing this movie for sure. All right, cool. Let's get some background of this.
Okay, so Godzilla Minus One was released, at least the domestic release. I'm not sure if it came out earlier for an international release. But for a domestic release, it was released on December 1st, 2023. The runtime is 2 hours and 5 minutes. The budget was $15 million.
Only $15 million? Are you serious?
And the box office, as of right now, is about $42 million.
Good for them. Yeah, good
so
for
doing
them.
Very well. The Rotten Tomatoes is a 97 and a 98 for critics. And
makes sense.
Everybody's loving this movie.
Yeah.
Genre is action, sci-fi. The director is Takashi Yamazaki, who would prior, so he's a Japanese director. So I don't watch too many Japanese movies.
Yeah.
So I don't know, too many of his films, but his biggest ones were Returner. He has a series called Always, Sunset on 3rd Street. I think that's a trilogy or something like that. Okay. And then Stand By Me 2, which was an animated film.
Okay. Is that like the sequel to Stand By Me? No. Okay. I was like, they made a sequel to Stand By Me?
I believe he's won 6 Japanese Academy Awards.
Good for him.
He's they say that he films action scenes very well. They compare him to the Star Wars and things of that nature. Yeah. And I think you could see a bit of that here with the monster design and everything like that. A little bit of trivia for this before we get into the cast, because I'm buying time. This is the 37th film, Godzilla film, since 1954.
Wow. So that was the first film with 1954?
1954 was the first Godzilla film.
Cool.
This is the 37th Godzilla film made in total. The 33rd Japanese. Because the U.S. has about 5.
Yep. Yeah.
5 films made, and I think one coming out in a few months, the Godzilla versus Kong one.
Yeah.
And then they said, we're talking about once again the allegory for the hydrogen bomb and the effects of war. And they made the first film actually after the success they did a re-release of King Kong in 1952. Okay. Yeah. And saw the success of that, so they created Godzilla.
Gotcha.
Which became kind of the blueprint for a lot of these giant monster.
Yeah. Who made King Kong first? Was it the United States?
Yeah, U.S. Yeah.
Yes, beat into it. Sorry, just throwing out some national pride. Yeah. I'm an American, damn it. All right.
Oh, you don't say. But yeah, so we have. I'm gonna try not to butcher these names of the cast. I have all these notes, but the cast, we have Rinozaki Kamaki, as Koichi. That's the main character, the pilot. Minami Hamabi, as Noriko.
Yeah.
Yuki Yamada as Mizu Shima. I don't know who that was actually.
Was that the captain? Who was the captain?
Captain was Seiji.
Okay,
so that was somebody else.
Was it the kid then?
Maybe it was the guy, the smart guy, the scientist.
Maybe, yeah.
On the boat.
Okay.
We have Hidetaka. Apologies. Yoshiko as Kenji.
Which one was Kenji?
Kenji, I believe, was the captain.
Okay, gotcha. For huge apologies for names ahead of time. We're probably just going to use Koichi, Noriko, Captain, Doc, Kid.
Yeah.
When they do all that.
Yeah. I'm just trying to give them their
for sure.
Right now.
Yeah, 100%.
We have Karanosuke Sasuke, as Seiji, and Sakura Auto as Sumaka, and Munitaka Aoki as Tachibana. That's the engineer.
Yep.
Yeah.
I knew Tachibana.
Yeah. Those are the main ones. Yep. So like you said, we'll probably find some moniker or some nickname for them throughout the.
Koichi's the main character, right?
Koichi. Yes.
Koichi, Noriko, Tachibana, Captain Kid, Doc.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah, I just want to make sure they got their credit.
Oh, absolutely. Because they all did phenomenal.
They did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And then the tagline, I think so. I saw this on, I believe, like IMDb. It said post-war Japan from 0 to minus. So okay. I'm not entirely sure, but okay, sounds about right.
Yeah, cool.
And then, that's all the
their war wasn't over, right? So they have to go.
But yeah, so that's the background that I have for this. And once again, apologies on butchering any names.
So that is our spoiler-free section. So if you have not seen this movie yet and you don't want anything spoiled, well, then maybe pause. And as Mike and I have said, this movie is worth seeing. Go see this movie. It's a really good movie. And then make sure you come back so we can give you some play-by-play. But if you don't care about spoilers, make sure you keep listening. But a quick word from our sponsors. This guy. Hey, my name is Edward Hunt. I'm on the Just Be team with Compass Real Estate in the DMV. That's DC, Maryland, and Virginia. So if you need anything home related at all, feel free to reach out to me at any time. So if you want advice on the market in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, I got you there. But more than that, if you need contractors, handymen, plumbers, electricians, etc., we have some phenomenal people who will do amazing work for you. Furthermore, we even have great lenders too, or not even have. We also have amazing lenders. So if you want to refinance, get a HELOC, or figure out what your financial situation looks like, we can connect you with the right people for your success. From there, also, I'm a comic book writer. Edward Hunt Comics, Evil is a Weapon is my current comic right now I'm working on. Issue 1 is for free on Global Comics, and it should be downloadable for Kindle on Amazon right now as well. Physical copies, I should be able to start shipping those out, and it should be on Amazon soon too. All right, let's get started. Godzilla Minus One. How does it begin? What's going on?
So it begins with an airplane landing on Odu Island.
Yes.
Which is basically like a hub for these pilots to get repairs on their ships. So we meet our main character, Koichi. He says that there's an issue with his plane. Yeah. And so then we also meet Tachibana, that was the head engineer on the island. They're checking out his plane. They know each other briefly. I think they've had... they had a meeting prior or something like that. There is this certain familiarity.
It's the war, so I think there was some kind of war.
The end of the war, 1945.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
This is where I got mixed up with you.
Yeah, with Boy the Heron.
Yeah, so we meet Tachibana and Koichi, and he's there because there's something wrong with his plane. Yeah. They check his plane, and he's kind of saying, I don't think there's anything wrong. And we do see, maybe there wasn't. Yeah. And then as Koichi is sitting, by himself, just looking at the water, one of the other engineers comes and they insinuate that there's nothing wrong with his plane. He just didn't want to, because he's a kamikaze pilot. We find out.
So he did not feel like kamikazing that day.
And so they kind of accuse him of, being afraid to do his duty. Yeah. But one of the guys goes, "Is like I could see why you wouldn't do it either. Just following orders."
Yeah, well, the guy's like, "We need more people like you." That was something on just a side note. The movie did a great job of even kind of not bashing on Japan, but bringing up Japan's faults in World War II. Where they mentioned not having ejector seats, not having the right supplies and rations, etc. As a way to bring together. But yeah, so the guy says Japan needs more men like you, people who aren't going to throw their lives away just because they're told to for honor.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
That I was sitting there thinking, Jesus Christ, because obviously I've never been in war, but it was imagine hating your enemy so much that you will take your own life just to.
Absolutely.
And that was crazy to me. I've seen certain things where I feel like, not Love, Death, and Robots. It was Black Mirror did a really good episode. Okay, it was about military service and basically the premise of the episode, it was just they were at war with these they looked like zombies or something like that. Yeah. But they had an implant in their eye that kind of distorted what the people actually looked like. Yeah. Because of the fact that they knew if they saw that they were just killing random humans, because it was basically a genocide.
Yep. Yeah.
If they knew that they were killing actual humans, it would actually fuck with these soldiers.
For sure.
So they needed to make these things seem like monsters in order for them to actually do this horrible thing. So it was just, it got me. That was Jesus Christ, war is just wild.
Yeah. Well, again, we don't need to really get into heavy with it, but I know, from what I've heard with Imperial Japan, it was very much Japan is here, and there was a reason why Japan was allied with Germany and Italy, right? Because those were the bad guys. Yeah. And Japan did a lot of war crimes, a lot of atrocities during war, and even preparing, I think, for what was it? With part of the talk for like the nuclear bomb, like I can't remember what the statistic was exactly, but like U.S. generals were like, yeah, if we could probably take Japan without nuking them, but we would lose hundreds of thousands of soldiers because like every Japanese citizen, not every obviously, but like a lot of Japanese citizens were like willing to lay down their lives to support Japan. That was the mentality of Japan at the time.
But yeah, so as they're sitting on the coast, I think he notices like a bunch of fish kind of floating up.
Yeah.
To the, and he was like, "The hell is going on?" So then I think nightfall comes, and we get our first glimpse of Godzilla.
Yeah,
and so like this monster, this dinosaur, basically just attacks.
He's a little baby dinosaur at this point in time. He's tiny. Yeah,
but he attacks the engineers and Koichi, and they're like, at first they kind of retreat, and then like this is where you get the name of the monster, Godzilla. That's what the locals call him, and. Tachibana is telling Koichi, he was like, you're the only gunner we have on the island. Everybody else here is just engineers and
just
mechanics.
A mechanic. They don't know how to use guns like
they're
that.
Not soldiers.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're the only soldier that we have. We need you to man that gun from the ship that you brought in order to take down Godzilla.
Question. And he says, because it's a 20 millimeter machine gun, he says that thing can kill anything. Do you think that would have been able to kill Godzilla if he did it?
Yes.
Really?
At that time, yes.
Yeah. Okay, because Godzilla's a little tiny.
Because I think this is before the radiation.
For sure. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, I don't know. I don't think it would have done it.
But I think you saw that some of those bullets that they were shooting, because it was like after, so like this is the whole thing. It was like about Koichi's cowardice, and this is his like character arc. Like he was too afraid, quote unquote, to do his duty as a kamikaze pilot,
which is ridiculous.
Yeah, which is obviously
no one should be asked to kamikaze.
Yeah, and then once he actually makes it to the gun on the ship, but then he freezes up before actually shooting, because
he realizes as soon as he starts shooting Godzilla, even if he does kill Godzilla, Godzilla's going to kill him.
Yeah,
even if he rescues all the mechanics, so he doesn't want to sacrifice himself.
Yeah,
like that.
And so like because he freezes up shooting, the mechanics use whatever few guns they have to attack Godzilla, and this is why I said it might have worked, because of the fact that some of those bullets were actually affecting Godzilla.
I mean, it felt like a little bee sting. Sure,
yeah, but still, it was something.
Yeah, fair.
So I feel like maybe a 20 millimeter or whatever it was would have had a better effect. So.
You know what they could have done instead, though? Just fucking not shoot it. Just fucking let it do its thing and let it fucking go away. Because like the people of the island have seen Godzilla before, and guess who's still there? The people of the island. You know what those people of the island didn't do? They didn't fucking shoot the monster. They just like, whoop.
Fair.
Like they were in a nice bunker, just fucking hide in that bunker, don't move.
But yeah, so we get this attack. He doesn't shoot, and so I think he gets knocked out.
Well, the mechanics start shooting, so Godzilla starts running that, and then he gets knocked out. Yeah, and
then he wakes up,
and it's brutal. Godzilla's like,
but that's the thing. He's like chomping on them, but not eating them, just kind of just tossing them. Yeah. Everywhere. And then when he wakes up, he sees that Tachibana like had a leg injury or something like that.
Yeah.
But he was like dragged all of his mechanics to like just to bury them.
Yeah. And Tachibana's like, none of y'all deserve this.
Yeah. And then he sees Koichi has survived, and he was like, this is your fault because you were a coward and like you refused to do your job.
And there's a lot of people that do this. I'm like, yo, all right, cut the guy a little bit of slack.
Yes. And like I said, I get it, obviously, but it was just like, in that moment, these are, but obviously it's foreshadowing for a little bit later.
Yeah,
but yeah, so we get them there. They've been picked up by some boat, but the survivors of the Odu Island attack. And before he walks away, Tachibana hands him this parcel of something to Koichi, and then just walks away. Yeah, we tell him he's disgusted with him. He doesn't want anything to do with him. He walks away.
But wasn't there also money in that bundle too?
I don't think so.
I thought. I mean, I don't know what those.
It was too small for that. So what it was the pictures of the families.
Definitely, I saw that. But then there were papers underneath, and I was like, "Is that money?" I didn't really know. I don't know what old.
Because I thought maybe it was just like he'd only been there for a day. I think because it wasn't until later I realized his reasoning for going to that island.
Yeah.
So like I didn't realize like. Because him handing him, I was like, "Are you handing him his pay or something like that?" Yeah. I agree with you. That's what I assumed. Yeah. But no, you find out later. It's just like he handed him the pictures from the mechanics.
Yeah, all the mechanics
and all their families and stuff like that, just so he can remember what he did or didn't do. Yeah. And then we see Koichi return home. This is like I think 1946. Yeah. And he returns home to like a devastate. Like he finds out his parents have died and like some of the attacks,
the Tokyo air raids and all that.
And everything's just devastating. You just see these people trying to rebuild through the rubble.
Yeah.
And he returns home to his neighborhood, and I guess one of his neighbors recognizes him, realizes that he was a kamikaze pilot that still survived, that lived, and so like you just see this dishonor basically.
Which I mean, that's with what I said at the beginning of this podcast. That's I think again, I didn't live there. I only know from reading, but that seems like a very clear representation of what Japan was like. It's like you should have done this. What the fuck? Like if you think about it, one kamikaze pilot sacrificing their lives was not going to win the war. But she's just like, if you had done your job, my children would be alive, and we would have won the war.
I think that's what it is. Like you said, it was like this is very much instilled in a people. Not just like,
absolutely.
Because I guess you could understand from a military standpoint, but like the people themselves are just like, no, it's an honor to go off.
Yes,
absolutely. And like I think we talked about this with The Boy and the Heron. It was like there's a scene in that movie like when he arrives, or like the city itself is like ushering off the soldiers to go to war.
Yeah,
and it's an honor to be a part of the war.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So like he first he's trying to like rebuild like his house.
Yeah.
He goes to the market or something like that, and there's like some woman is being chased out, and like she just hands him a baby.
Because they're saying stop thief, so she clearly stole something, and she hands him a baby, and you're like, okay.
So he hands him a baby. He sits there, doesn't know what to do, so he just literally just sits down.
Yeah.
And then, like, for a moment, he was like, bro, fuck this. So he puts the baby down and walks away, but he's like, oh.
Yeah. Well, this is after he's been sitting there for hours.
Yeah.
So, like, literally, he's like, fuck this after 6 hours of sitting there. Yeah. And he's like, fine. But then, he can't leave the baby.
He can't leave the baby. So then he finally goes to leave because the mother hasn't returned. And then you find out that the mother, Noriko, was just waiting for him to leave because like he was sitting in the middle of the square, and she didn't want to get caught.
Exactly, which honestly makes a lot of sense because if she went back in there, they would have been like, "Oh, there's the thief again."
And so she takes the baby, and then like she just follows him to his house
because she immediately knows, like she sees him, and she's like, "Oh, this is a nice guy. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna follow him too." And I'm like, "All right, you're kind of like milking the situation here, but Noriko, but yeah."
So like she follows him home, and like he's like, okay, you can't stay the night.
Yeah. And
then like she just kind of muscles her way into his life. You find out that this is not actually her daughter. Like the mother of the child gave the child to her right before she died.
Yep. Yeah. She was dying from the air raids. Yeah. And she had the baby and said, "Hey, please take care of my baby."
And the baby's name is Akiko.
Yep.
And so the neighbor who had shamed him prior.
Yeah.
Recognizes that he's brought home this woman and her child.
Yeah, she's like, who the hell are those people?
And he's like, I don't know. So like, she comes over because she's clearly a mother. Because she mentioned she had lost her son.
I think she had like 3 kids that all died. Yeah, which is tragic. 100%.
And so she comes over to kind of nurse the baby and like show them like. She gives them like rice or something like that.
She gives them like good white rice.
Yes.
So like high filtered, actually.
So she was like, the baby, you can eat anything. The baby can't.
Exactly. Yeah. So make rice gruel to feed the baby. Because she was like, oh, can the woman breastfeed? And then the guy Koichi was like, no, she can't breastfeed because that's not actually her daughter.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, motherfucker. So I will say the neighbor, but the actress who played the neighbor, I think she did a phenomenal job throughout the movie. And then, I guess, slight spoiler, she has phenomenal character growth, and just seeing her growth through all of this too is great. Like I was like,
well, even in that moment, like you said, like the first thing you meet her, she's just like literally hitting him because he didn't fulfill his duty.
She's hitting him because he didn't kill himself.
Shortly after, she's just like she kind of like breaks down because of the fact that there's something like bigger than her in that moment. It was just like we need to make sure this child is good. And so so she helps them. She gives them like her good rice to feed the baby.
Yeah.
And then shortly after, you see that he's like they're just all living together.
Yeah, they're just one kind of big happy family almost. Yeah.
He gets a job as a minesweeper because it pays very well, and like the job is basically to go out because during the war there was like. He said like 60,000 or something like mines.
Yeah, mines. Both Japan and the U.S. put them down.
And so like just to get them out of the ocean. So like their job is to fish them from the oceans and then just destroy them.
Yeah.
So that the waters are safe.
Yeah. It's a really cool, like even like right before you see like the relation, they're all living together.
Yeah.
But it's not a romantic relationship between Koichi and Noriko at all. Like Koichi's kind of keeping her at arm's length, though he still is very dutifully taking care of her. Like he's basically a husband in every way except emotionally.
Yeah.
Like from a physical perspective, from taking care of them both together, just like he's a father to Akiko in every way except emotionally.
Yeah.
And like but then when he even leaves to go for the mines, Noriko's like, you better not die. You can't do this. And he's like, hey, it's safer than being a kamikaze pilot. It's safer than being that. So she's like, fine. And he goes because the pay is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is where we meet the doctor, the captain, and the kid.
Yes. Yeah.
And they drive like a tugboat because of the fact that it's made of wood. So like it won't ignite the mines.
Some of the mines are magnetic mines.
Yes.
So the magnetic mines obviously would sense a metal ship, click on it, and explode. Yeah.
And so this is where we get like a nice little montage of them growing over the next few years, basically.
Yeah. Well, you also see like a good part of like the kid who had not been in war. They call him the kid because he has no experience. He wasn't in war. But like other two, the captain and Doc, had both been in war of some level. Yeah. And the kid was like, oh, I wish the war would have gone on for a few more years longer so I could have done it. And Koichi's like, you better not fucking
Don't say that.
Yeah. He's like, you better not mean that. Grabs him. And then like they go, but yes. Then.
But I think it's also, to think about it at the time, it was just like, being a soldier going to war made you a man. It earned you those stripes in this society.
No, 100%. It makes sense that the kid would think like that because he doesn't know the horrors of war. And all he knows is that all the people that went to war are considered, as you said, they earned the stripes.
Yeah, they're
people
heroes.
That went to war are men now. Yeah.
So, yeah, we just get a montage of them all. With him getting this new job as a mine sweeper, he's really good at it.
Yep. Yeah, because
he was a pilot, so and a soldier.
Because they clip the mine. So the two boats are there. They go through. They clip the mine. The mine goes up to the shore, and then they have a machine gun to shoot it.
Yes.
And everyone but Koichi sucks at it, basically, because he was a pilot. He knows how to shoot a gun the right way.
And so you see him growing in this job. You see them growing as a little family.
Yep.
At the same time, I think they're doing tests or something like that, and this is where we get Godzilla basically getting.
What the hell is Operation Bikini?
Don't know. It was
it's a fictional thing. Yeah.
But it's also something that actually happened too.
Was it?
In like 1946, yes.
Was it actually?
Yeah, when I was reading, like doing research.
Got you.
Something similar. Like I said, I think a lot of it was happening in like 1952. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. 1954 or 1952, something like that.
Okay.
Right before this, like the original Godzilla came out.
Okay, because I didn't do more, because at first when it said Operation Bikini or something, 1946, I was like, oh, I need to research this. Yeah. But then later on in the movie, they have, because I was like military footage, then later on in the movie, they had military footage of Godzilla. And I was like, oh, it's all fictional. So, okay, so Bikini was
real.
So
I think, like I said, I think the whole point of Godzilla was to show that, like, the effects of these nuclear bombs and stuff like that on the world.
Yeah, because there was a nuclear.
So it's like there was actually something that happened in like 54, right before the original Godzilla came out.
Gotcha.
So it was a Godzilla was a response to those tests.
Gotcha. Yeah, because in Operation.
It was probably called Operation Bikini in real life.
Yeah,
I can't remember. God damn, it was on the Wikipedia page.
Okay.
But it wasn't called that in real life. But it was like something that actually did happen.
Yeah, because the military footage shows that there's a nuclear test, and then you pan to seeing Godzilla, kind of, but you don't actually see Godzilla. You see like the back of Godzilla, but you see it's like he's expanding and molting and getting bigger. Yeah, so the radiation's making the already huge dinosaur get bigger.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, they're just living as a family. Shortly,
because years are going by.
It's like years are going by. The little girl's a bit, older. She's at least 3 or 4 now, or something like that.
Though she does. She's a little, I think from a timeline perspective, she must have been like 3 or 4. But from a developmental perspective, they kind of made her seem younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she's not verbal.
Yeah, she's not verbal. She still cries like a
she does. I think she does call him. So like we jump to a scene like once again after we see the testing. Godzilla's now radioactive.
Yeah,
they've grown as a family unit. Even like the neighbor is like more susceptible to them.
Yep.
And we jump to them having a family dinner with Doc, the kid, and the captain.
Yeah. And
you can clearly see like they've been over several times. Like they really love Noriko and Akiko.
Yeah, like the captain has Akiko in his lap, and Noriko's like giving people drinks and hanging out.
And they kind of mentioned it was like, why aren't y'all married? It was like that's not what we do.
Well, because at first they just assumed that they were. They assumed that Noriko, Koichi, and Akiko were a family.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, not yet. And they're like, what? Why aren't you doing this yet? And then like Koichi says like. He says, I don't want to, or something. That's not what I want.
I think there's a certain fear of like having a family, having lost it.
And you see why later. Yeah. But he says, I don't want to. And the captain's like, why not? Yeah.
And then you also see that talking about him not being there, just not emotionally. Akiko goes to call him dad.
Yes.
Or, daddy. And he says, I'm not your dad.
Yeah. And everyone, like the other two guys are like, why the hell would you say it to a little girl, man? Like, come on.
Even I was like, come here. Let me talk to you.
Baka.
It's a 3-year-old girl.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Jackass.
Yeah. Men deserve baka for that.
Yeah. But yeah, so we see that like they're all like the his work friends, his family. They're just all kind of work together.
Yeah.
And
though the next morning or soon after, the Noriko gets the job in Ginza.
That's what I was about to say. So like two things happen. One, they're like Koichi and his coworker get assigned to basically draw out the beast, Godzilla, and then you also see that Noriko, like after years of like just being a dutiful housewife and like mother, she's like, no, I want something for my own.
Yeah,
and it's interesting too, like to see their like that growth a little bit. She went from like basically like this kind of vagabond to like she's really like she's cleaned up. She's like buying nice dresses and stuff like that to like kind of look the part of a housewife. But she was like, I don't want that anymore. Like you've obviously provided for us, but I was like, I want something for my own.
Yeah, because she says she needs to be able to stand on her own because like she even says like because Koichi, when she says she gets the job, he's like, where did this come from? And she's like, oh, it's been building for years now. And it's because he's never emotionally let her in. That's why you have this. Because clearly, like, she would love, you get that kind of vibe. Like, she would love to have that kind of relationship with Koichi, but Koichi won't let her in. So she's like, well, I need to stand on my own. And then, like, maybe this way you can get a wife or a woman you actually like. She doesn't say it all that, but it's like, that's what she, like, from how I interpret it, that's what she means. She's like, well, obviously
you don't want me.
Then, like, maybe this way I'll get out of your hair so you can finally have a woman you actually want to be with or something and not have to, like, take care of me forever like this. Yeah.
And so, like,
but Koichi's like, don't I pay you enough? Don't I provide enough?
And he's like, what's going to happen with Akiko? And she was like, oh, the naval will take care of her. Yeah. And he was like, he just kind of like just relents. He was like, I mean, I guess that's
okay. Yeah.
And so the next day you see that they've been assigned by the government.
Because then you get another military flash. The United States sees Godzilla. Godzilla fucked up a couple of United States carriers and all that. And now there's Godzilla going around there. So then they get assigned to Godzilla because the Takao is coming from, or Takio, the other warship's coming from Singapore.
They just needed to hold it off until the warship gets there. And so their plan is to kind of use the mines to draw Godzilla, possibly try to kill it. Yeah. Or just basically distract it.
They're just like, well, we need you to last 30 seconds. So there you go. Good luck, boys. Yeah.
And so this is a cool scene where like you get them like they use a mine to try to like blow up Godzilla. It has no effect.
Sorry, just quick time, just because I want to bring it, because with the captain, like going into, because the and this was mentioned earlier in the review, was like the captain's bashing on Japan. He's like, Japan's great at information. They don't tell anybody anything, and they like information wars. Japan expects us to do things, and like they want us to sacrifice themselves for Japan, blah blah blah. But then when Godzilla destroys the other ship, or they're going, or no, when Godzilla's coming, the captain's like, well, who else is going to fucking do it if not us? And I'm like, I fucking love the captain. The captain was a great character. Like, everyone's a great character, but the captain, like, his monologues and him saying that, I was like, fuck yeah, man. Like, because it's true. Like, your government's kind of against you a little bit, or they're just treating you like a pawn. But at the end of the day, who's going to get the job done? It's going to be us. So then, but the other ship gets destroyed. So they're like, fuck this, never mind, we got to run. So hysterical. And then Godzilla's chasing them in the mines you were talking about.
So, they drop the mine to try to blow up Godzilla, and it has no effect on him.
Yeah.
And then, but they get one, and they see, like, they drop it into his mouth.
Yeah.
And, like, it explodes, and you just see half of his head go.
Yeah, because Koichi shoots it.
Yeah. So he eats the mine.
Yeah.
And then
it's chilling in his mouth.
And then Koichi shoots it.
Yeah.
It explodes in his mouth, and you see, like, kind of half of his head explode. Yeah. But then it immediately regenerates. And this was interesting because I had never seen. So I realized, right? I didn't get to say this in the beginning. I've seen 5 Godzilla films between the year 1998 and 2 years ago or something like that.
Yeah. So all the U.S. ones?
All the U.S. ones and only one Japanese one, and that was Godzilla 2000.
Oh, shit. Okay. Yeah.
So just like, but I said all that to say it was like, I'd never seen the, so like I'm very late to the lore that is Godzilla and stuff like that. So I'd never seen this regenerative power. I just assumed that he was just, usually they have monsters like this was like, it's, you either need to get into their underbelly or like inside to actually do damage to them.
Yeah.
But it was like, I had never seen that regenerative power you even utilize at all or that quickly.
Yeah.
Because I feel like one of the Godzilla film or the Godzilla King of Monsters, the US one, they blew him up with a nuke and then had to revive him with a nuke. Like, or something like that. So it's just like, you've seen him get destroyed. So like I said, all that to say was like I'd never seen that regenerative power, and it was like once I saw that, I was like, oh, y'all fucked.
Yeah,
like, and this is what I was saying. Like since it wasn't kaiju versus kaiju, it was actually humans versus a monster. That are like government's not helping. It is 1946.
Yeah, you do not.
Or actually, by this time, maybe 1948.
Yeah,
it's been a few years.
But still, they do not.
But it was
have
like
the
they don't have the resources to properly to deal with this.
Yeah,
and it was just like I am truly terrified for these people.
Just to see it regenerate like that, too, it was like, oh god, okay, good luck.
Because another thing too is like there's several things or cliches in films that like will forever piss me off, and one of the biggest ones is soldiers in films shooting at something, it not being effective, and then their response is reload, like, hey, let's save the bullets. Like,
hey, shoot it more. All right, that's what you got to shoot.
So this one, you saw them trying to use mines, it didn't work, and they're like, shit, we can't do that again.
Yeah,
or that they're learning from their mistakes, type of thing. So I thought that was like really poignant and like really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we see them.
It regenerates immediately.
But this time the actual warship.
Yeah, the Takio or Takao or whatever.
Yeah, it comes. But even that one isn't like it has the big guns that are kind of doing some damage.
Yeah.
But not enough to actually affect it. And this is where we get that first instance of that fucking atomic breath.
Yeah, the heat beam or heat ray.
Oh
whatever.
my god,
that was
It was bad enough when he regenerated, and I was like, I forgot this motherfucker had this.
Yeah, because like they shoot him, it's like on the ship, it shoots him. He like sinks down below the surface, and then just all of a sudden, just the blue beam just right up through the center of that ship, and you're like, well, fuck.
Yeah, that it was. Jesus Christ, it was amazing.
Yeah. Oh. Sorry, I meant to mention this before. So all of this, at that same dinner we had, the doc took a picture of Noriko. That son of a bitch. That son of a bitch took a picture.
Well, we know this.
No, I saw it. I was like, damn it, that means death.
Yeah, he might as well say, it's been a long day without you, my friend.
So he looks a nice picture. I'm like, as soon as I was like, the picture? God, no, not the picture.
Burn it. Burn it now. It's not too late.
So warship gets totaled.
Yeah.
And then I guess...
But they're able to... Actually, no. Something happens where... what's his name? Koichi gets knocked out.
Well, so because the mine exploded so close to the ship, the kid broke his arm. Koichi's bleeding a bunch, but then Godzilla killed the giant destroyer. Then Godzilla does the classic kaiju move, looks at the fucking four main characters and goes, bitch, and like fucking swims away.
Not now.
Yeah, no. Soon. Yeah.
You're plot lucky, motherfucker.
Exactly. So then once Godzilla throws that at him real quick, then Koichi passes out, wakes up in the hospital with the other guys.
But yeah, so you see that they're, for the most part, all bandaged up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He goes home and tells... So first, he's home, and he has flashbacks of the other encounter on the island with Godzilla,
which was really well done.
Yeah,
like, he wakes up in his bed in his house
in the shack, on the island,
and then he opens the door and it's the island on Odo, and I'm like, what the crap? And Godzilla's stepping on people and stuff. That was really
and
cool.
you just see he has a bunch of PTSD and guilt for not only the kamikaze pilot thing, but also just his first encounter with Godzilla.
Yes,
and him not being able to step up, and he holds those depths of the mechanics to heart.
Yeah.
And so I think he admits this to Noriko.
Yes,
because she and I think I'm realizing this now. It was just like her trying to get him to let her in, and I think this was finally that moment
where he truly let her. Because he even looks over. It's because there was one weird interaction first where he's like, "Am I dreaming? Am I dead? What's going on?" And Noriko's like, "Let go of me! You're fucking being crazy." But then he lets her in and tells her all that. Because then it's also around the same time he looks again he shows the photos, and then he looks at the shrine of his parents, who he feels guilt because he was like, maybe if I was a kamikaze pilot, my parents would be alive. And he sees all the photos, and then he looks at them and he's like, can I finally start living again? He says that because at first he says my war is not over because of the Godzilla, which that's a total cliche from Vietnam War movies and all that too. But still, good, powerful scene. And he looks at, can I finally start living again? And I was like, fuck, there's a picture of your girl, and you asked that question. No, you can't. No, you can't, damn it. Yeah.
And so we hear on the news that Godzilla is heading towards the mainland in Tokyo.
And the Ginza district.
District, yeah. So that is where we know that Noriko works.
Yeah.
Koichi rushes to Ginza to try to get her before Godzilla gets there. He gets there first, attacks the city. You see him just knocking down buildings.
This is my complaint with from this, and I think we said Godzilla's dummy thick in this. You know what I mean? Like,
let's calm it down with the body shape.
I'm just but like it's weird because like his
also use terms from your era, young man. Stop trying to be cool with the kids.
Yeah, I'm like, no cap, all right?
You know what?
No, but like,
what I'm not gonna do is Google any of these words. I refuse.
But yeah, because like
I'm gonna take it all as insults.
The upper body Godzilla is like, okay, but then like the legs and like are just like ridiculous. It's kind of ridiculous.
Well, like we said before this, my one gripe, even though it's still a 5 out of 5 film for me, was trying to understand how Godzilla stands up in the middle of the damn ocean. Yeah, and I think it's because them thick ass thighs.
It's just mad. Like, because you see Godzilla, like, so basically us from the chest up, you can see us, and Godzilla's like all regal and like, vicious Godzilla, and underneath the water, he is kicking as fast as he can. Yeah, but it's because I think like he really does. Like, it's funny that you said the 5 Godzilla movies you've seen. I've seen more of the old black and white Japanese Godzilla,
and that's what sucks.
I saw of
that's what
anything
sucks
else.
because of the fact that I've seen clips of like the guy in the suit ones, fighting and stuff like that. I saw one where he just he did the fucking Chun-Li thing where he just like scissor kick through the air, and I was just like, okay, that's not real.
Godzilla versus Mothra, classic. Yeah. But like in that, and Godzilla does kind of have thicker legs in this, so they kind of tried to keep that same classic Godzilla from the black and white era, but then just made him like modern looking with CGI. But like you should have slimmed down the legs a little bit because it looked kind of funny. I found it a little comical, at times, but. Either way, it's a vicious monster that is destroying this city. Noriko's got mad pull-up strength.
So she's on I guess a trolley or a subway car or something like that, and the train gets attacked. She's able to like make it out. Yeah, and then I think what's his name? Koichi actually makes it to the city, somehow finds her, and they're escaping away. And I think
there's just so many good scenes of the classic Godzilla trampling down the fucking street and just stepping on people while all it's mass chaos and panic. People are running.
And then you have the military with like tanks trying to attack it. Yep. And then we get the second instance of this atomic breath. Yeah, man. Where like it shoots at something.
Yeah, in the distance.
And it explodes, and that blast from the explosion just takes out the rest of the city. And it's where you see like Noriko and Koichi like running away. Yep. She sees that the blast is coming and out. They're both not going to make it. Yeah. So she kind of pushes it in between 2 buildings, which I'm thinking like, that's even worse because like buildings are being knocked down.
Because buildings go smush. Yeah.
but it was like, all right, I guess these 2 singular buildings in this whole city won't like get knocked down.
Smash him. Yeah.
But like she basically sacrifices herself to save him. Yeah. He's devastated.
Yep. Because he comes to and like it's just a devastated wasteland. Yeah.
And then he makes it home. They have like a memorial service for Noriko, sorry. And then Akiko starts asking, "Where's mommy?" Yeah. And like they kind of nobody's like because you have the captain, the doc, the neighbor there, and the kid, and like. Nobody can answer because how do you explain that to a 3? I would say 3. Yeah, I give her 3, something like that. Still, like I said, still nonverbal, but she still has like she says "daddy," "mommy," and things like that.
I'll do 2.5.
Her drawings are trash, though. I will get into it later. I don't want to critique a 3-year-old. It's like I don't see art student.
There's other. That's fine. Yeah, you don't have to be an artist. You can follow other paths.
That'll be nice. I'm gonna say something. But yeah, so now after burying Noriko, what's his name?
Well, they don't bury Noriko.
Not bury
because they can't bury
after the service or whatever.
They said that Godzilla killed like 30,000 people and leveled like almost all of Ginza.
And now Koichi just vows vengeance on Godzilla. Yeah. He's like determined to kill this creature. He's gonna fulfill his destiny that he should have done back on the island, when he was still a fighter pilot. All these things, like he's going to do this now. Yeah, because it's around this time too that Noda or the doc comes up with the plan. Yeah. So this is when this is where you find out that he says it earlier, like he was like a naval doctor or something like that,
a Navy technician. So he designed some of the weapons and stuff
during the war.
Yeah, and so now he's a tugboat dude destroying mines. Man, how the mighty have fallen. Yeah,
and so like they gather a bunch of volunteers, like all former Navy soldiers and stuff like that.
But they're all private citizens. Like no one's military anymore because the U.S. can't help Japan with Godzilla because if the U.S. puts, like they say this, which I actually really appreciate. U.S. says that if they send any military personnel to help, then that's going to tick off Russia because we're in the Cold War now, post World War II, and then Japan can't even have military stuff going on because Japan is allied with the United States at this point in time. So if Japan has any military movement, that will also, tip off Russia. So therefore, the only people that can do it are the private citizens that they kind of gather together.
And so, like, they gather them to those private citizens, former soldiers, mostly Navy and sailors and stuff like that. And they're just saying like, we have a plan. Like, so the doctors come up with this plan. And they want to use like these freon bubbles,
because
to basically sink.
Yeah, because Godzilla's kicking really fast and he has buoyancy because salt water. So the freon bubbles will surround Godzilla, so there's not salt water, and freon has no buoyancy like salt water does. So that'll cause Godzilla to sink.
So they just want to sink him, hoping that pressure, that rapid change in pressure, will kill him.
Yes,
and if not, the plan B is to pull him back up, hoping that pressure, like from decompression will kill him as well.
Yeah, because as you go down to the very deep sea, there's all the pressure from the water that squishes, but then the rapid decompression will expand things very quickly. So if you scuba dive, your lungs, as long as they have gas, that's fine. They won't compress and decompress. But if you go up too fast, stuff will expand in your lungs. That's why you get nitrogen and oxygen in your blood to the vents.
And I think, like I said, that's what I appreciate about this. Since it was human versus God's, like a giant, they're
non-military humans. They didn't have access.
Their actions made sense. It was just like, this is a solid ass plan. Like, granted, like it is, and then you see this here where there's a general there, and he's saying like, you're not forced to do this at all. Yeah. If you want to leave, you can. And you do see some of them saying like, why isn't Japan helping? Why isn't the U.S. helping? Why does it fall on us? Yeah. So some people do leave.
Yeah. Because the funny part of this scene too, though, is like when the doctor's explaining the plans, the only ones who are questioning and be like, "How's that going to work? What the hell? This is crazy." Are his people. Literally, like it's fucking Captain and it's Cap and fucking Koichi. I'm like, I thought you were my boys. What the hell? If anyone's going to bash on me, why is it my fucking boys?
Yeah. I told y'all this shit on the way here.
Yeah, come on, guys. Fucking, they ain't loyal or
Can
shit.
We parking lot this?
Yeah, come on.
Still frustrated about it. But yeah, so that's the plan. You have some of them leave, and then other ones really wanting to avenge the fallen, the people that died in Ginza.
Yeah, and again, not to harp, on it, but like the captain or the doc says the same thing of like, because they're like, oh well, someone's got to fight to the death here, and the doc is like, no, we're not fighting to the death, we're fighting for life. And then he again of like, Japan didn't have good supply lines, so a lot of soldiers died of starvation. They had no armor on tanks, no ejector seats in these cockpits. So we're not it's very much we're not sacrificing you.
Well, you see that where like I'm saying like you're not forced to be here.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you don't want to, you can leave. Yep. This is very much like we're trying to get away from this. Yeah. We hate our enemy enough to die.
Yeah, exactly.
Type of thing.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. Which I think was so cool. And like obviously I'm not a Japanese citizen, but I am very curious of like how people in Japan reacted to this message too. I'd imagine positively from all this. But yeah. Really cool.
And so, even though Koichi has agreed to this plan about killing Godzilla without sacrificing, soldiers, he's still determined to kill it. Yeah. Using being a kamikaze pilot. So they find this like one singular warship.
Yeah, prototype plane. Yeah.
And so he tries to recruit Tachibana, the only engineer that he knows that could actually fix it. Yeah. And so he sends him letters. So he goes looking for him, and it's a quick little thing. He goes looking for him like in the archives and stuff like that, and he's just kind of like off the grid. Yeah. And so instead, he just like finds out possible addresses and just sends him letters, basically saying like, "It's your fault."
Well, we find out this later. So he sends all these letters, and he's walking minding into the business. And the dude fucking hits him with the wood beam, and he comes to hands tied behind his back. Tachibana looking down, and I'm like, "Holy, this motherfucker's going to kill him." Yeah. I was like, Could you imagine that? Like, you're just like, yeah, I'm going to like knock you out and tie your hands up and put you in a random shack.
Because it was like, yeah, you from the audience, it was just like, bro, he just sent you a letter. Chill.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Because I thought it was maybe it was like, how the fuck did you find me type of thing. But it was like, no, you find out in the letters. He was like basically blaming him.
Yeah. How dare you say that it's my fault?
Yeah.
All these men
and then Koichi just says, it's like, I knew that was the only way you would come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so initially Tachibana's like, no, fuck that. Like, this isn't my fight.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, it's the hero's journey. Like you refuse the call to action and then accept it.
Yeah, because Koichi says that he still has all the photographs and stuff on him. He needs his help for this. He wants to make up for everything he didn't do by finally killing this guy. Yeah, Godzilla. Yeah.
And so then we get them Tachibana preparing the plane because they're going to use that plane to like draw out Godzilla, distract him, and then get him into this trap. Yeah, because they know that this certain trench is the deepest. This is where they need
the 1,500 meters.
Yeah, this is where they need Godzilla to be.
Yeah, because they're going to take 2 destroyer warships and like kind of wrap the cords and the freon around Godzilla. Bubbles go off. Godzilla sink. Yeah,
and
right around this time too, when they do it, they tell the kid that he can't do this.
Yes.
They tell the kid, they're like, hey, kid, you're young. You've never been to war. That's a good thing. You've never been to war. You're going to stay off here because we're going to put the future of Japan in your hands because this is very risky and we don't want to risk your life. Yeah. And the kid is like, I need to go. Take me with you.
Because it's still this like trying to... I'm not coming of age, but it was just like
a little bit, but like
this
trying to prove himself.
Try to prove yourself. Sorry,
but it's very because it is like these like 2 kind of older men who were in the war. They're like, no, we need to step away from this, and we need to have the future for men like you. Yeah, which is a very nice moment too.
And so the plane is repaired. Like Tachibana is like showing him where the bombs are. Like there's a certain
because they put a ton of bombs in this plane to blow up. Yeah,
and then we get they've also gotten like 4 or so like warships from the U.S. Like even though they're not allowed to intervene, they were able to supply these ships for them. Yeah, and so they just go about their plan. So like initially, Godzilla attacks.
With the plan, because Tachibana and Koichi have a moment, and Koichi's like, I need to make up for this. Look at all these photographs, and Tachibana's like, you're finally ready, and he's like, before you put this plane you crash this plane into Godzilla, pull this lever because that'll take the safeties off the bombs. I 100% thought that was a ejector seat. Yeah, I 100% thought that was an ejector seat. Very interesting, as it kind of comes along. But yeah.
And so they, the plan starts, Godzilla, because they're kind of tracking him somehow. Yeah. And they see that he's going to hit landfall. So like they, using the plane, like Koichi's plane, they're able to distract him to draw him back into the middle of the ocean.
Because Godzilla comes to land too fast, and all of a sudden it's like Godzilla's on land. They're like, fuck, we're not even in the ships yet. Yeah. So then Godzilla's like storming around the countryside of Japan. You see like the rice farmers running. Koichi uses the plane to like shoot him. Godzilla's dumb.
Yeah. I know, but these are very cool scenes too. Yeah, it's really clearly cool just scene. Has to like dive in into attack. It's like I guess very reminiscent of King Kong, like the original King Kong. Yeah, on top of the Empire State Building, and just like kind of swinging at the biplanes.
Yeah, but it's very clear. Godzilla's like, "You're a bee. I hate you. I need to kill you." And then he's just, "All right, fine. I'm gonna fucking follow this plane instead of all these nice."
Godzilla follows Koichi's plane into the trap. Yeah, they're able to First, he attacks one of the ships because it was like also they know about his atomic breath.
Yes, so they have 2 ships that they have like strapped with ropes, and they send at him first. Yeah, Godzilla uses heat ray for that.
He uses his atomic breath, and then they realize he needs a moment to charge. So this is when they actually put in part their plan. They use the 2 warships to wrap the freon like tube like bubbles. Or sorry, the whatever it is, the freon
the freon is going to release bubbles
or whatever around him, and then they just as soon as it's done, they activate the freon and it just immediately sinks Godzilla. Yeah.
But they do know it doesn't work.
Yes,
because they're just like, "Fuck, it's not working" or something like that. So then
they start using the 2. Oh yeah, no, they have a pulley actually. Yeah, to pull the ropes back.
Yeah. Well, they have like Godzilla goes down, but then for some reason they know that Godzilla didn't die from down there. So then they go to Plan B, which is they release all the rafts, so Godzilla starts coming up. But Godzilla makes it to like 800 meters. Yeah. The rafts go up to the surface, and Godzilla's still underwater. And they're like, "Fuck, this isn't going to work."
Like he chewed through it or something.
Yeah, he chewed through. So then they start going opposite ways.
And then there's like they only have the 2 boats, and they're like, "There's no way that these 2 boats can actually pull Godzilla." So then they still try it.
Yep.
And it's not really working. He's coming up, but not too much. And then this is where you see the kid.
Yep.
And he's recruited the other tugboat captains to help pull. So now you just got a bunch of tugboats tied to the warships pulling.
Totally being nitpicky. It would take so fucking long for that operation. You know, I'm just thinking they like gloss over that. But like, you have 30 tugboats per ship.
You wonder why like he was fine.
Yeah, well, he was fine because it was like he could decompress all he wanted while they set this shit up. But they have movie time instantly. But that would take so long to go. But
and so
it's a cool
using
scene.
the tugboats,
it's very cool.
You know, the kid is finally able to prove himself.
Yes.
You know, without having to sacrifice himself.
Yep. Yeah.
And so they use the tugboat to pull Godzilla all the way up. You see that once he resurfaces, he's not dead, but he's a bit frozen.
Yep, he's like frozen in the little cracks because again, 1,500 meters, very cold and like pressure, so he's damaged, but fine.
And they feel, they feel defeated, and then like they see that even though he's a little bit damaged, he's trying to use that atomic breath again. Yep. Like he's recharged enough to use it again.
And we didn't talk about this yet, but that heat, the charging for the heat ray is so cool.
But that's what I'm saying, like
so cool.
This movie did so well to put you in, like, so every time I saw it, I was like, holy shit, no.
Yeah, like, no, it's happening. Because, like, all his scales would start, like, kind of popping out, and, like, he was glowing blue on his back. It was so cool every single time.
So he's charging up with using the atomic breath on the ships. Mm-hmm. All the soldiers are just like, I mean, we did our best. Like, this was an option to happen. We were hoping it wouldn't be, but it was like, there's nothing we could do. There's no way we can get away.
Yeah. And I love that the director was like, all right, everybody, just do your best do your best scene that says death is coming. So you had like people like crying and screaming and people like trying to like
just saluting
like,
standing there.
And like it was a really cool
and so like, as Godzilla's opening his mouth to use this atomic breath, you see Koichi just kamikaze, finally doing the kamikaze thing and just diving into, like, driving the plane into Godzilla's mouth because he knows, like we saw earlier, that his exterior cannot be penetrated. Like, he can only be affected inside.
Yep. Yeah.
So he drives the plane into his mouth and then it explodes.
Yeah. Well, we see him do two things. Because he does. He pulls a red lever and he pulls a side lever. Mm-hmm. And so we do kind of see him launch.
And then you flash back to when Tachibana was showing him how to use the plane, and he tells him this is a ejector.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh man, before all of this happens too, when he gives Sumiko. He gives he has a Kiko, and then he takes a Kiko from Sumiko, and he gives a Kiko this like letter that's on it. So then he leaves early in the morning while Akiko's asleep, and then Akiko gives the letter to Sumiko, and it's money. But then you can tell Sumiko's like very upset about it because she's like, "Oh my god, he's gonna."
Well, because he wrote a letter basically saying like, "Take care of her. This money is for her."
Exactly.
And then she also gets a telegram.
Yeah.
And so like she's racing because she knows that he's going to, he's prepared to die.
Yes, he's prepared to die. Yeah.
That's why she left the little girl to the neighbor. Mm-hmm. And so like she gets a telegram and now she's rushing to basically, I guess, the shipyard or wherever they were, like to get the telegram to him before he does anything crazy. Yeah. But then we flash back, we see that he didn't do the kamikaze thing. He ejected because I think Tachibana says like that's what he was saying was that you're ready, like you don't have to like basically live.
Yeah, live. Like you've paid your penance. Yeah. You've done enough. You've suffered enough from all of this, and like because Tachibana also kind of even though it's not said, I think Tachibana also realizes like being so angry at him for not being a kamikaze pilot and not necessarily like going on suicide missions isn't a real reason to be angry at this man. Yeah. And he's, especially when he's willing to still try to do so much. So you have this like really nice moment with that too. Yeah. So he's like, this is your, this is your thing. And Koichi's like, wait, really? You're giving me an ejector seat? I thought you wanted me to die too. And he's like, live. Very good scene.
And so, the plane is, he drives the plane into Godzilla's mouth. He ejects out of the plane. The bombs go off, destroying Godzilla. And I think it's because as I was reading the Wikipedia, but because the atomic breath backfired as well, that's what destroyed. And you just see Godzilla's body just disintegrate.
Yeah, because he drives the plane in, so Godzilla can't release the atomic energy. I'm assuming I didn't read it, but since he couldn't release it, all the pressure built up and exploded outwards. Yeah, really cool scene too. Though a little cheesy, I guess technically, because you have like these little blue beams out there, but still a really cool scene. Yeah,
but so Godzilla's body just disintegrates. Into the ocean. You see the sailors kind of cheering the fact that one Godzilla is defeated, but also that Koichi didn't kill himself to do it. They see his parachute.
Yeah.
And so they all make it back to the land, and then congratulating each other. You see the kid kind of getting that validation that he was looking for, that he is finally a man and respected.
Yeah, it's a very heartfelt scene between the four men all like getting together and hugging and stuff. It was really cool.
And then you get the neighbor bringing the little girl, showing him the telegram, showing Koichi the telegram, and he just like breaks down, and like you see him rush to a hospital.
Yep.
And then once they get there, you see that Noriko is actually still alive.
Yeah. Broken arm, messed up head, but like clearly bandaged and stuff, but still alive. Yeah. And she asks him, "Is your war over?" Yep. And it is.
And then shortly, so he cries into her arms.
Though I will say, with this scene again, being slightly nitpicky, he like basically chucks Akiko aside. He's like, you don't even see Akiko anymore in this scene.
He grabbed her bandaged arm. I was like, maybe see if that's cool.
Maybe see if she's okay. But he doesn't chuck her. He like puts down Akiko and then like hugs her and like is grabbing the bandage. And I'm like, you probably want the little girl in here too. It's like, no, fuck that little girl. You don't need this. I need this.
So that's the end. And then the actual end scene, you see a chunk of Godzilla's body in the ocean start to regenerate.
Yep.
So obviously showing that like he's not really dead.
Yeah.
And then the movie.
Boom. And that's Godzilla Minus One. All right. So we always like to review our original rankings. So Mike, you gave this a 5. Is that changing?
Nope. I'm sticking with it. Like I said, all the shit that I had was like comedic nitpicky shit.
Yeah.
Like I didn't think there was anything wrong with this movie at all.
Yeah. I gave it a 4 originally. You probably were expecting this. I'm going to jump it up to a 4.5. I'm not giving it a 5 because, again, it's no Fifth Element. But because, again, 5s are that special place for me. But 4.5, this was a phenomenal movie. It was very, very good, especially as kaiju monster movies go. So,
I think literally my Letterboxd review was just like, the U.S. isn't allowed to make Godzilla movies anymore.
Yeah.
Like, this is... And I think that's why it sucks that I've only seen one other Japan released Godzilla movie.
Don't get me wrong. I tried to watch Godzilla Mothra, I think pretty recently. My family would not have it just because it's a long, drawn out movie for like a little bit of action at the end of like dudes in suits fighting. Yeah. And you're just like, bro, and there's like, dude, what is this? I don't want to watch this. I'm like, come on. They're like, no, they did not, because it is black and white, Japanese subtitles, kind of long. But no, this movie was so good. Yeah. So we are the Meddling Kids, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us at 2meddlingkids on Twitter and Instagram, or you can email us at 2meddlingkids@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you anytime. Mike, how can they reach out to you?
On Instagram at Days from Legendary.
Lovely. And if you'd like to reach out to me, I am at EdHunt77 on Twitter and Instagram, and my comics handle is hunt.comics. Until next time, everybody, we'll be back next week with a brand new movie. See you soon.
Bye.
Nice.